there's one thing we can all be certain about in this very uncertain life, is that one day we will die. That is just an inevitable fact of life. I could make a whole video about being prepared for that journey and how you can lay out beforehand what you would like to happen in your last days and at your funeral. But this video is about what happens after that. Transmigration of the soul is only one possibility, but R is for reincarnation. What happens to your soul, the essence of your being, when you die? Many cultures across the world have asked that question and have come up with a mighty array of answers. Beliefs and practices change from place to place and from period to period. Many people these days, especially in the Western world, believe that after death there's just nothing. You just die and that's that. And there is no continued consciousness and no further adventure to go on. I could live with that. If you've had a good life and you feel that you've made a positive contribution to the world, then that isn't so bad an end. But it is just a fact that when you die and you are put in the ground in some way, either as ashes or as a complete body, you will begin to break down and become food and nourishment for other creatures. You will become part of the soil and new things will grow from the matter that was once your body. And in that sense, everything is an ancestor that fed the plants and animals that feed us. Once you die, you become an ancestor. For a lot of people, that is literally true. They have children and grandchildren, and their DNA and genes live on in these people. But you are inevitably also an ancestor of the people who come after, even if they are not your blood relatives. You are a part of the culture they will inherit and of the institutions that you are part of. You are a part of the inheritance of the future. So part of your soul, of your essence, will live on in that way. Some people venerate their ancestors as guides and protectors who share their skills and experience with their descendants. Whatever our relationship with our immediate family is or was like, back in the bloodline, there are always ancestors who love us and cherish us and want to help us. And then, of course, there is that sense of all is oneness that I have talked about in these videos before. We are part of the everything, and in essence the everything is one. And when our bodies cease to exist, that part of us will just continue. And then, of course, there is reincarnation. It's the belief that our souls are immortal and will someday come back into a different body here, in this place on Earth. This belief is particularly prevalent in Asia, but it is present all over the world, and it's getting more and more traction in our part of the world as well. Some people believe that you can come back as anything. You could be a mouse the next time around, or an insect, or a tree, or a rock, or another human being. Others will restrict this to just human beings. They believe that you will come back as another person, and that some of these reincarnated humans retain some of the memories of their past lives. This is called the transmigration of souls. Some people practice past life regression and go looking in another life in the past for answers to some of their life's problems now. It's far from clear what our Celtic ancestors believed about life after death. Iron Age Britain counts many different burial practices that could all point to any kind of belief. You can even interpret one single burial in different ways that are totally opposite. Take Lindau Man, for example. He was found in Lindau Moss, his body very well preserved because of the wet conditions. And he was killed about 2,000 years ago, at about the time of the Roman invasion. His death was very likely a ritual killing because of the contents of his stomach, which contained sacred plants, and because he was killed in 3 different ways, the number 3 always pointing towards the sacred in Celtic beliefs. But who was he? Was he a revered person who was a messenger to the gods? Or was he a convicted criminal? Nobody will ever know. But I do love Manda Scott's take on it in her Boudica novels. What we do know about Celtic beliefs of the afterlife was written down by the Romans, as is usually the case. One of their writers tells us that Celts were buried with things they were going to need in the next life, and it is also reported that people would lend money that was repayable in the next life, which all points towards a strong belief that there is something coming after you have died. Julius Caesar mentions that Celtic warriors were so brave because they believed that their souls would come back in another body, and so they weren't afraid to die. That last report definitely points towards a belief in reincarnation. What I believe myself is a mixture of all of the above, really. I think all of it is possible. And of course, we will never know for sure what actually happens until we die ourselves. But because of my shamanic training, I am comfortable with thinking of the soul as having different parts. There is a Celtic tradition about 3 cauldrons that people have within their bodies. There's a cauldron in your belly that holds your animal soul, a cauldron in your heart that holds your creative personality that makes relationships in the world, and there's a cauldron in your head that holds your eternal spirit. So if there are 3 kinds of soul, then different things can happen to the different kinds of soul as we pass on. So our animal soul can return to nature and become food for the next generation. Our creative soul can become a skilled and blessed ancestor, and our eternal soul can return to the one and the everything. I am not so convinced about reincarnation as literal transmigration of the soul into another body. To my mind, it is more likely that if we have memories of past lives, that those are memories that have been passed through our bloodline, through the generations in our DNA, because we always carry the ancestors with us. In essence, I do believe that there is life after death, that the adventure continues somehow in a conscious way. What happens after death is less important than what we do with our precious lives that we have right here, right now. What do you believe? Do you believe that there is life after death? Do you think that your consciousness will continue even after your body has died? Have you got any memories of a past life? Or have you had any other experiences that confirm your belief in life after death? Let me know in the comments below. Click like if you enjoyed watching this video, and subscribe if you want to see the rest of the Alphabet Superset of Druidry. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you joining me for this one. I'll see you again soon for the S for Spirit Guide.